Greetings to all, I am Zion Craze and I welcome you all to this commentary on Bizarro DX, also known as JadedOtakuMedia. Now, if you don't know who he is, Bizarro DX is an anime reviewer on bad anime called What's Wrong with Anime, but some of the bad anime, according to him, is more opinion-based rather than actual facts. Like all reviewers, honestly. But today I'm doing a commentary on quite possibly his worst review, Panty Stocking with Garterbelt. The term missing the point really comes across with this review. Now, before I begin, I just want to get this out of the way first. Bizarro, if you are watching this, I just want you to know I am not a hater. I am just someone who is not a fan of your reviews. Now, with that out of the way, let's get on with this commentary.
Dying is easy. Comedy is hard. A quote made famous by Peter O'Toole. However, variants of the phrase have existed in Hollywood, Broadway, and acting in general since the 1700s. One of the hardest forms of comedy to pull off is the parody. Not only do you have to capture the spirit of the original source material, but you have to put a spin on it that the audience will find amusing.
Obviously never heard of a bridge series then.
While some people like Mel Brooks can do this very well, others, like Jason Friedberg.
And here Bizarro talks about how much Salzburg have earned with their movies. Honestly, I'm skipping this because it is completely unnecessary and not needed. But there's a reason why he's talking about it. It's because...
Today, I'm reviewing the Meet the Spartans of anime. Oh yeah, it's gonna suck.
He's compared Panty Stocking with Garterbelt with Salzburg. I find that really insulting. Panty Stocking with Garterbelt has more effort put into one episode than any of the movies done by Salzburg in their entire career. I'm skipping the intro because it's unnecessary, but I have to ask the question, why is it called What's Wrong with Anime? That's giving off the impression you hate anime altogether. Shouldn't the proper title be What's Wrong with This Anime? I'm just saying.
Oh, GAINAX, why must you always disappoint me? Were you not content enough having one of the worst anime titles under your belt? Did you really have to make the worst anime of all time?
Really? You're calling Panty Stocking with Garterbelt and Tengen Toppa Gurren Lagann some of the worst animes of all time? Now, I have to admit, I'm not a Gurren Lagann fan myself, but I would not call it one of the worst animes of all time. Not what I call Panty Stocking with Garterbelt terrible either. They're nowhere near the best in the world, but I would not call them the worst.
Well, there's no use groaning and moaning about it. I may as well get started. Panty Stocking with Garterbelt focuses upon the misadventures of Panty and Stocking, a pair of angels who were sent down from heaven to fight demons and ghosts and to save humanity from evil.
And this doesn't sound like it was read off Wikipedia at all.
It's basically a whole load of vignettes, most of which have referential titles, and none of which are entertaining or funny. One of the biggest failings of this series is that the majority of the episodes that have referential titles don't actually parody the subject matter of that title, with a few exceptions.
The titles of some episodes aren't always meant to be direct parodies, and the titles still have something to do with the plot of an episode. Have a look at The Simpsons, Family Guy, Powerpuff Girls, and of course, Cowboy Bebop. They have referential titles, and they aren't direct parodies of the title, and don't always have something to do with the plot. It's just a title of an episode.
The episodes are just random antics of Panty and Stocking mixed in with a large amount of lowbrow humor.
Panty Stocking is a comedy-based series, not a drama. Don't confuse the two.
Surprisingly, the creators do attempt to throw together a little plot in the last two episodes, which begins with a SYNOPTIC episode to try to explain that, hey, there was a plot the whole time, which there wasn't.
You mean the one where Panty and Stocking have to defeat all the ghosts so they can go back to heaven? You know, what you mentioned a few moments ago.
The end of the series revolves around the mayor using ghosts and demons to conquer the world, of course.
Oh, Bizarro, you're not doing it right.
The end of the series is nothing special or spectacular, and worse yet, it leaves us with the kind of cliffhanger I never want to see. Granted, based on the events that occur at the end, I assume that's a joke. If a shallow plot isn't enough for you, this series also has very shallow characters, all of whom are very annoying.
It's a comedy series that meant to be shallow. Why are you treating the series so seriously? And annoying? This is one of the things I have to ask. Where's your proof?
Our lead characters are Panty and Stocking, two of the most vapid, obnoxious characters I've seen as leads in a long time. Panty is the stereotypical slutty blonde. She just runs around sleeping with every guy she possibly can. Her panties transform into a gun, which she uses to help battle against the ghosts and demons throughout the story. She has no real redeeming traits or characteristics, and even though the story is heavily focused upon her at the end, it really doesn't add up to much, and there is no major character development.
That's a bit of a claim to say Panty doesn't develop as a character, but she does though. At the end of the series, it shows that Panty does care for Brief. I'm not gonna say why or how, you're just gonna have to believe me for that.
Panty's teammate and sister is Stocking, who is a gothic Lolita, with emphasis on the gothic. She likes sweets as much as Panty likes sex. Her primary weapon is a set of swords that her stockings transform into, and much like her sister, she has no major character development.
And again, with the no character development, which is false, Stocking falls in love with a ghost, and it shows she is more interested in love than actual sex. And how on earth could you miss that? If that's not character development for you, I don't know what is.
Commanding the Angels is Garterbelt, an African-American stereotype.
That's not Garterbelt in his picture, by the way. That was her manager when she was a star in episode 2. I hate to insult your intelligence, but how in the fuck can you confuse Garterbelt with Panty's manager?
Who happens to be a priest. And yes, they do use this as an opportunity to make him interested in little boys.
Ha 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 ha. That only happens twice.
He has very little personality, he adds very little to the show, and he's pretty much there to yell at the two main sisters. The last member of the team is Chuck.
Oh, I never saw that coming up.
Chuck is the mascot character, and unlike Gur, he isn't funny or entertaining, and he adds absolutely nothing to the show.
You know, this isn't the only time a company has ripped off a design from someone else. Have a look at Love Hina and Cowboy Bebop. Similarities here? But how about Across the Water? Mickey Mouse? He looks a little bit like Felix the Cat in his early years, and bashing a character for a design, that is a really lame excuse. Besides, Johan doesn't mind that GAINAX have used Gur's design. In fact, he actually approves it.
This show features a handful of recurring side characters, the first of which is the most annoying character in the series. Brief. He is the nerdy character who follows around Panty and Stocking, trying to help them out, or at least prevent them from fighting each other. He is whiny and annoying, and often abused by the girls. He functions as something of a comedy relief character, which is odd because this is supposed to be a comedy series.
Brief is not a comic relief character, he's a comedy character in a comedy series.
Brief is one of the most useless and unlikable characters I have ever seen in anime, and he is completely unnecessary to this series.
I just love how you put the force there. It shows you really didn't pay much attention to this show. Brief was not completely useless, and it wasn't for Brief, Panty wouldn't have.
Finally, we have the Demon Sisters, who function as comedy relief villains.
They are not comic reliefs. Do you know what a comic relief does? It's to make a dark scene where something bad has happened lighten up. For example, in Macbeth, King Duncan was killed by Macbeth, and in the next scene after Macbeth went with his wife, we open up with a porter who is drunk to lighten the mood, as you would say. Now that is a comic relief character. A character made to lift tension in a serious element, not in a comedy series.
Other than pushing forward the forced story at the end of the series, they serve no major function.
Except to be villains.
Of course, this happens when your whole purpose is to bring comedy relief to a comedy.
I'm not repeating what I said with my comic relief point from earlier.
Panty and Stocking with Garterbelt has some of the most poorly conceived and poorly written characters I have ever seen in any media.
You know what would help? An example to show why these characters are the worst in any medium. It would also help if you showed some proof for this claim, or better yet, an example from another anime show to back up your argument. This, however, makes your argument completely one-sided and not giving us any choice to agree with you. And as you can tell, I don't agree with you.
The audio is above average. The opening sequence is annoying, and the end sequence is forgettable. However, the incidental music is very catchy and will get stuck in your head. While I want to hate the music for being catchy, the fact that it is shows that there was effort put into the sound design. So I really can't complain about it too much.
I just love the fact that you had to say something positive there and you're trying to hate the music to be catchy. Bizarro, I've just got to ask, why are you being so forceful against this anime? I've seen you be a little bit positive with other music in other anime. Why is this one any different?
While the audio continuously gets stuck in my head, I can only hope I never see visuals this horrible ever again.
Oh boy, here comes the worst part of his review, the animation portion.
Do I really need to comment on the visuals of this show? Look at the backgrounds. They're horrible. They're poorly drawn and barely there. The character designs are atrocious. I assume the majority of these character designs came from the producer's 5-year-old son.
We are not amused!
You can clearly see how low budget this series was.
Because as you know, it's a requirement for all cartoons from Japan to be fully detailed.
And I know I'm jumping with this early, but the style was made to make fun of the American style of animation. And the Americans have done it before with Teen Titans, Totally Spies, Team Galaxy. Wait, those last two are French. Wait, you get the point, don't you?
And while there are a couple of action sequences that do look nice, the majority of this series is this poor, stock quality animation. However, the series shifts into high quality when the girls do their transformation sequence, which is a pole dance. You may notice that the artwork has a semi-American feel to it. Clearly, this was done to make the show marketable in America.
The show is called Panty Stocking with Garterbelt. These are what some of the covers of the CDs and DVDs look like. This show was not made for Americans, it was made for the Japanese that love the American style animation of their shows. But with that logic, you would probably consider Keeper Miker, Hi Hi Buffy Yami Yumi, and Super Robot Monkey Team Hyperforce Go made for the Japanese. And if any people from any other countries happen to enjoy Panty Stocking with Garterbelt, then they like it. And I'm not just talking about Americans either.
The target audience for this show was clearly Americans, and this crap quality shows what GAINAX thinks about American aesthetic appreciation.
Again, I am not repeating what I said a few moments ago. My tongue is still twisted from that sample of shows.
I cannot think of any show with worse designs than Panty Stocking with Garterbelt.
Oh, but I can! Maho Sensei Negima by Zebek. The animation is poor, there are mistakes made in the series, and the quality for the colouring drops halfway in the series. You see, Bizarro, it's not hard to make comparisons. Not only does it help your argument, but it also shows how harsh you are.
GAINAX has produced some cheap productions in the past, but this has got to be one of the worst. Not only is this show poorly produced, but the comedy is pathetically bad and oftentimes just comes off as gross. Swearing, sex jokes, poo jokes, pee jokes, vomiting jokes, and everything else in the lowbrow humor category can be funny. South Park proves it can be funny. This is not South Park. This is just a pile of poop, just like the first bad guy the Angels get to fight. I wish I was making that up.
How in the bloody hell does South Park do this better? Jesus Christ, that show's considered lowbrow humour. And don't expect him to elaborate why South Park is better or how it improves. But I just gotta say though, this has gotta be the funniest thing, Bizarro, you have ever said. Unfortunately, it's for the wrong reasons.
The show was produced to appeal to the dumbest of audiences, and designed to appeal to American audiences.
No, and no. The show was made from ideas from a few men put together, and this is not made for Americans. It could be made for the British, it could be made for the Canadians. You know, other people who happen to like it.
What does this say about us as anime fans and as Americans?
I don't have to speak for Americans here, but I can definitely speak for anime fans. What Panty Stocking with Garterbelt has is its own unique style of animation compared to most anime shows that I have seen in years. But if you don't like it, well, you have your reasons.
Sadly, there are people who really like this show.
It was bad enough when you were forcing your reasons to hate this show, but now you're insulting the audience that does like it? Screw you, Bizarro. Screw you and your review.
Clearly, I am not one of them. I prefer my humor and my sex jokes to be done with style, class, and flair.
And obviously not from an anime from your choices. You know, for an otaku, you're not that much of an otaku.
And if I'm going to watch a show about angels, it better be the lovely angels. So you know what? Screw Panty Stocking with Garterbelt. I'm going to go watch The Dirty Pair.
And obviously not from an anime with your choices.
Gee, with that description, you must like the Transformers movies!
Oh boy, I'm gonna get hate for that. Oh, and if you're wondering why I'm continuing with the credits, here's why.
When it is, support the domestic release!
Yeah, I'm really gonna support something that you said was shit throughout your entire review. And with that, I'm gonna end this commentary right here. Okay, my final words. This review was made professionally well, but it just sucks. The facts are not true, they're never backed up properly, and Bizarro, you really come across as an elitist dickhead who forces his opinion down our throats on a single-sided review. And again, Bizarro, if you are watching this, but I seriously doubt that you will, I just want to let you know again, I'm not a hater, I'm just someone who's not a fan of your reviews. Well, that's all I have to say. I'm Sion Craze, and wait, didn't I used to make an abridged series before?